Hi, my dear Astro family. Today I'm here with Tsveti to discuss the Pluto ingression into the sign of Aquarius.
Mhm.
We put together a little bit of a longer lecture on it. We won't be discussing what Pluto means in each houses, because probably then we would stay here for a good few hours. We might be making a separate video about that in a couple of weeks' time, but we want to give you the fundamentals about what Pluto in Aquarius means in our lenses. And by the way, Tsveti will be offering a 45-minute reading for you on a discounted price if you are curious what Pluto or Saturn transits will bring you basically on a personal level. So if you are interested, the link will be below. Now, another announcement I would like to make that we have got just a couple of months left and to sign up for my retreat. Now, the discounted price is only till the 15th of March. So if you are interested, check that out as well. It's going to be 5 days all about relationship and 1 day to clearing some of those relationship blockages. So check it out. Let's get started with Pluto in Aquarius. We made a presentation and we will share it with you. So how are you doing, Tsveti?
Hi, Victor. Hi,
Excited about the
everyone.
Pluto and Saturn
Um,
changes?
I am doing fine indeed. Everything is going smoothly. I'm getting more and more into um, the deep side of the changes coming. I can feel them already. Maybe everyone does. I can read in forums and chats that everyone is like wondering what's going on. Nothing has changed yet, but I feel such a huge energy. So yeah, I think everyone is already feeling the change of sign of Saturn on the 7th of March in Pisces, and then of Pluto on the 23rd, 24th of March. And these are huge energies because these are very slow moving planets, and they will bring actually big changes over time, though not immediately on the day of the ingress. And yeah, I think everyone is feeling that, and it can give some chaos on the internal level, especially if we are more emotional. Like I have 5 planets in water, and I'm very sensitive to any changes coming, and I need some time to really take a deep breath because I don't have any air in the chart. So I'm like, I need to breathe and calm down and not get so overwhelmed. It's good that astrology helps us a lot in these cases because we are aware of what's coming and we can actually align with the new energies easily, and or at least easier, not easily, but easier. And we know that
If
it's
we
not
know what to
forever.
prepare for, surely
Yeah,
then it can make our
yeah,
life a lot easier.
yeah,
And
so
I
that we
usually
can.
say that with Saturn, we need to prepare, we need to have a plan, before it ingresses
Oh yeah.
into the other side. Now, I did make a webinar about Saturn in Pisces, free of charge, available on my website. So we're not going to talk about Saturn today. However, we will talk about Saturn a little bit because that's going to be the dispositor of Pluto. So that might be quite important for us. So how we structure today's lecture is that we will be just having a little bit of a preview of the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction, because we did have that on 0 degree of Aquarius in 2020 at the end of December, and Pluto will straight away trigger that once it ingresses into the sign of Aquarius. By the way, that ingress is going to be happening 3 times, really. So meaning that 3 times that a great conjunction will get triggered. Then we might be looking at a little bit Saturn-Uranus square also, just because this was the theme of the last couple of years, and Uranus is the modern ruler of Aquarius. So that communication will be happening there. We will be looking at what Pluto is, what the Pluto's discovery chart looks like a little bit. Also, we will be looking at the Pluto's ingression chart in the moment, the very first one in the moment when Pluto goes into the sign of Aquarius. Also, we're going to look at what is Aquarius archetypical, meaning what is Pluto actually, and finally, what Pluto in Aquarius might mean in the next 20 years, what it might bring for us. So let's get started. Let's start with what is Pluto, Tsveti. So how would you describe Pluto as in a
Yeah,
archetypical
it's great
energy?
that you actually changed the slide, because it's important to say that Pluto was only discovered in 1930, and it's actually a very slow-moving planet. It takes 248 years to go around the sun. So humanity hasn't actually experienced a conscious one full cycle consciously of Pluto, which means when it was discovered, it was at the 18th degree of Cancer, I think. And actually, we only went through half of the signs so far, consciously. Of course, events happened before humanity knew Pluto was existing, but still this happened only on a very subconscious, unconscious level. And Pluto triggered changes, of course, but these were not triggered by humanity on purpose. And on the day, not on the day, but shortly after Pluto was discovered, actually everything related to Pluto started appearing on a more conscious level, like the atom energy, atomic energy, and all this power that Pluto represents actually was given consciously in the hands of humanity to deal with it on any possible level, on the material level as well, not only, so in this way, the planet helps us bring changes through our will. Pluto also rules the will. It's the higher octave of Mars. So it is related to power and to willpower, but on a huge level indeed. Not only the willpower of the individual, like Mars would be, but also the willpower of the humanity, where we are heading, where we are going. So it was first seen in 2015, as the slide says. And yeah, it hasn't been seen so far on a collective level, as I mentioned. So Pluto is anything related to death and rebirth. Indeed, it shows our shadow side. It's the subconscious, the unconscious. Ruling the atomic energy, it brings to explosions. And it wasn't so far after the atomic energy was actually discovered that the atomic bombs were used. So it's a total annihilation. Whenever something, whenever we have Pluto in play, nothing remains afterwards. It's like a total calm, and it's like a pendulum, because Pluto also rules extremes, and it's like a pendulum moving from one extreme to the next, but in the meantime it also touches the point of balance. And when we have experienced both extremes and thus faced our fears, because Pluto also rules fear, so when we are afraid of something, we tend to go to extremes to defend ourselves, So when the pendulum moves from one extreme to the next, in the middle, it touches the point of balance. And so this way we actually learn how to calm down by facing our fears, by seeing what could be the worst that could happen. And then we're no longer scared, because already we went through it and we're still here, right? So it's like a pressure
Because
cooker.
Pluto is going into an air sign, vocalizing, giving voice to our fears is
Oh,
going to
yeah.
be extremely important. Of course, Aquarius is a collective sign as well. So, the fear on a collective level can emerge pretty much, the fear of uncertainty, the fear of the future, what is going to happen in 5 years' time. So all these questions might come up on a collective level in plenty of people's heads.
Yeah. And the fear of change itself as well, because Aquarius rules change and everything new, and how we tend to hold on to even rotten models, which are not really serving us well. But it's like we tend to keep our comfort zone, even if it's like not the best thing. to hold on to. So yeah, we're going to face that more and more, and we're going to communicate. We're going to probably form communities and maybe groups of people who will be discussing the same topic, so that we can really let go and transform, because Pluto rules death and rebirth, and it's not only on the material level that it could manifest, but it could also manifest as a death of an old consciousness and rebirth of something new, like the humanity could make a leap of consciousness indeed. And I was thinking that even because any new planet, especially the collective planets, gets discovered when humanity is actually ready in terms of its consciousness to see something new, to be to deal with the energies of this planet. So I was thinking that maybe even a new planet might get discovered during
Oh,
Pluto in
surely.
Aquarius. Yeah.
Aquarius
So
is the sky, so, and
yes.
something which is kind of like a non-visible knowledge, and usually
Mm,
Pluto reveals those. So, that's why many kind of believe that Pluto moving into the sign of Aquarius will enhance the topic of aliens and the
mm-hmm.
supernatural matters, So that might be a topic in the next 20 years. Maybe if we find evidence that there is life somewhere else.
Yes, and even maybe in terms of communication between the people, between human beings among themselves, maybe we can get more and more children being born with the ability of telepathy, like being able to communicate without, because Pluto is the subconscious, the conscious mind as well, bringing our shadow, something that we didn't know we could do, bringing it on the surface, and like think, wow, why didn't we do that so far? It's like, you know.
I mean, I did put down there, a couple of things, which, for example, like job related to Pluto, like the psychiatrics, the psychologist, the
Yes,
surgeon. So most likely the medical industry is going to change significantly, such as the surgery, or some new psychological themes are going to be coming up, or psychiatry, the mental health might
yes,
become a major factor in our lives in the next 20 years. Often people ask what to invest into. Now, those could be something to invest into. Even the funeral industry can change significantly.
yes.
Maybe, we're not gonna, maybe because Pluto represents toxics. So maybe they realize that, I don't know, for example, like placing someone in the grave is something to do with toxins and it's not really good, or, stuff like that. I'm just giving some silly examples here, but the funeral industry can change significantly too.
Yeah,
So
and
whatever we
also,
see now,
mm,
it's gonna be transforming big time.
yeah, and also in terms of new alternative healing methods, maybe because Uranus rules vibration, it rules energy, it rules power as well, electricity, and the nervous system. Maybe we could use the vibrational healing methods more. Maybe they will kind of, if it wasn't already discovered, I'm not sure, but maybe they will put us into some form of a capsule or a camera, or I don't know what, and they will somehow destroy cancer cells, or through the vibration. Maybe they will find the vibration. Now we know the vibration of organs. Maybe they will find the vibration of different diseases, and they will be able to heal this through these alternative methods. So I think that alternative
Something
medicine will
something about
thrive.
frequency most likely
Frequency,
will
yes,
be
exactly.
maybe something big. I mean, Pluto, from a mythological point of view, he is Hades, and he is
Mhm.
the god of the underworld. Now, he was one of the children of Kronos, and Zeus and him managed to fight him back, basically, his own father, who was a little bit unfaithful towards Mummy, and Mummy got tired of it. So basically, she got her sons to sign up to kill Dad. Uh, you know, so that's how he became the god of the dead, basically. So
Mm-hmm.
very briefly about the mythology. Now, also very interesting to mention about Pluto that it got discovered and then it was said that it was a planet. And then all of a sudden in 2006, he got demoted and then he became kind of like a dwarf planet. Now we had Ceres, who was basically the mother-in-law of Pluto, who actually got promoted as a dwarf planet from an asteroid. Often Pluto and Ceres are pretty much connected because what happens there is that Pluto abducted her daughter and they fell in love. And then eventually they had to come to that agreement that the daughter is going to spend 6 months with Ceres and 6 months with Pluto. So Ceres is so much to do with the agriculture, but also something to do with the weather forecast. Now, Pluto moving into the sign of Aquarius could really talk about this global, weather issues, because Aquarius does rule the weather. So something around that. And it's kind of like, which is not going to allow agriculture to, to grow as much. And Aquarius, by the way, rules fake foods, the artificial food. So either Pluto is bringing the end of it, but most likely at the beginning is just going to the extremes and basically we're going to be eating, DNA modified stuff all the time and so forth. So it probably, at the beginning, we're going to see the rise of artificial food more and more. And then probably a little bit of a discovery that, oh, it's not healthy. Let's stop doing that. And then eventually we go back to gardening and all those type of stuff.
Yes, we'll have to face the consequences of certain decisions that we make because it's just like this pendulum that I mentioned. We'll have to go to each extreme. Maybe we'll start eating plastic almost, and then we discover, wow, that's so huge and it affects the health so badly. We actually now need to be reborn and start all over, so that we can go back to the balance point where we actually combine the best of the new and what was discovered and the best of what we already know. Yeah, so I
would say
agree.
most likely we're going to start seeing the food industry to be changing sometimes around 2025, 2026,
Yes.
when Uranus will be moving into the sign of Gemini. The last time Uranus was in the sign of Gemini, it did bring a food revolution. They discovered the sugar they established the sugar factories. They actually discovered or started producing the tin food and these type of stuff. So this is really talking to us about a technological advancement in regards to food, big time. And of course,
Yes,
Uranus will be the modern ruler of Aquarius.
yes, and especially because it will be in a trine to Pluto for quite a long time. I think it's 5-6 years they will have a trine going on because these are two slow-moving planets. So it will actually start an out of sign trine even this year somewhere, midsummer, I think. So we will start seeing some hints about what might happen, into this direction. And hopefully, because it's a trine, it's going to bring conscious choices on the surface, and it will make us more careful as well to implement changes, because changes are something really great, but we really need to consider all the consequences that might come. And because we are like children of Earth, just like the daughter of Persephone. She was the daughter of Ceres, which was abducted by Pluto, and the Earth started dying because something happened to its child. And we need to bring to the surface the subconscious models, the motivation, what triggered a certain change, and we need to be absolutely clear about what this change could bring, and then make a conscious choice to actually focus on the positives. And
I mean, it's also very interesting interesting to think about that Pluto is the lord of the underworld, basically the god
Mm.
of hell. But hell is something which does not need to be looked at as a always a bad thing, because it also talks about the purification of the soul. Now, the process of Pluto typically is that at the beginning, it always destroys. And then when it
Mm.
kind of cut everything away, what is not necessarily anymore, then it starts building that up. Now, Aquarius is a fixed sign, so the resistance, the rejection is there big time. So if we are more resistant about certain type of changes, and that could happen on a personal level as well, right? So for
Yeah.
example, let's suppose that Pluto is moving into my 12th house. So if I'm very resistant about changing the way how I do astrology, it could bring the fall of my astrological practice, right?
Mm.
So there is a renewal to do there, a rebirth, realizing that, maybe I tend to be practicing more of a traditional astrology, but it does not work maybe anymore in this, in this world. So I need to put my own spin on it. That's an Aquarius factor, right? Or a 12th house, for example, is about how we approach losses, right? And with Pluto, we're going to lose things, surely there.
Oh, yeah.
But seeing the positive side of those losses as well, seeing an opportunity that we can move forward. So that's pretty much of the being, often actually it's literal. We feel like we are in hell with Pluto, but
Yeah.
it's typically because we are not embracing the change within ourselves. So hell is a place regarded in various religions as a spiritual realm of evil and suffering, often traditionally depicted as a place of perpetual fire beneath the earth where the wicked are punished after death. Often we kind of feel like with Pluto that whatever we do, it's always wrong, and then we are getting punished. And when it moves into the sign of Aquarius, it could really indicate that we feel like the world is against us, right?
Yeah.
So, however, the real idea would be here is to pay for your sins and then re-emerge and then come back on Earth with a renewed version of yourself. That Pluto will be making obviously a sign-based square to Aquarius, sorry,
Mm.
to Taurus,
The
and
Taurus.
Taurus would represent the Earth. That's why I'm a little bit afraid that, we can be environmentalists with Pluto in Aquarius, or we can
Mhm.
kind of completely destroy the Earth in a sense. Meaning that I think eventually the rise of environmentalism is going to raise significantly, meaning that we're going to have to make some technological advancements, for instance, to save the Earth, maybe from waste and garbage. Pluto represents anything to do with toiletries and waste and dirt and cockroaches and all those type of
Yeah.
infestations and
Yeah.
so forth. So,
And
and I wouldn't be shocked about kind of like a pandemic in regards to infestation, because you walk in the streets, people are throwing rubbish all over the place. Instead of placing them in the bin, you know, of course the rats are going to come and all those type of stuff right onto it,
yes.
and this could become a problem. Other stuff which I mentioned here in regards to Pluto, but it represents parasites, for example, um, poison, food poisoning type of things, which could be a topic here. So and Pluto rules on one hand pandemics, surely.
Yes, definitely. And I was thinking about when you were saying that we are throwing rubbish everywhere and the earth is getting more and more polluted, and not to mention wars, which are actually a huge factor in earth in destroying the earth and in pollution in everything. And um, because Pluto is a very slow moving planet, it actually brings about changes. Oh, Lola, hi. It brings
She
about
doesn't leave
changes.
me alone. She wants to be in my arms. So
Yeah, I understand. So Pluto is a very slow-moving planet, and it brings about changes slowly. So it gives us the time to make a certain model or behavior or motivation to somehow become conscious about it, to bring it to the surface. And when we want to bring about a huge change in the society on a global level, then we really need to start small within ourselves. So we need to become the change that we want to see in the world. This is a very famous quote, but I don't know who said that. I'm sorry, but yeah, it's so true. It rings true when we talk about Pluto in Aquarius, and when we talk about bringing really a global change of consciousness, then we need to start with ourselves first. Yeah, that was my.
Aquarius is an air sign, so
Mm.
the secret, because Pluto, as you said, it's a weapon. The
Mm-hmm.
weapon is in our head, it's in our subconscious mind. I tend to call
Yeah.
Pluto as the buried treasure because Pluto represents wealth, right? It's loads of money,
Yes.
but it's just hidden somewhere. So
Mm.
we have got that hidden money mindset as well at the back of our mind. And Aquarius is a money sign, by the way. All the fixed signs are connected to money. So money will be a big topic, how money will change. For example, electronic money is coming. I mean,
Mm.
it's going to happen. Why does that happen? Because with Pluto, we want to control first. So we controlling so that people we know what they spend money on, or we can tax them immediately. Pluto rules taxes and inheritance and these type of money, basically. But it really talks to us about that it's all in our subconscious mind. So often, as I said, Pluto destroys first. And then
Yes.
after a while, it starts bringing situations back up to kind of the normal level. But those who have got resentment, or kind of like they're playing the role of the victim, or they're gonna be taking their anger out on others.
Mm.
People who doesn't want to discover their shadow self, those might be suffering significantly. And all these are Plutonian keywords, the hidden aspect of our personality, something
Yes.
secrets which we sweep under the carpet,
Yeah.
and that shouldn't be happening. It's a karmic planet. It's about taboos we don't want to talk about.
Yeah.
So often like Aquarius, which rules LGBTQ, for example. It might be something which everyone is aware of. Let's say politicians. Aquarius connects with politics alongside with Capricorn. So, but they know it's a problem. They might not want to talk about it. So
Mm.
where does it lead? Because they feel that they won't be listened to. Therefore, there is going to be riots and demonstrations about it. Sexual Discrimination Act most likely will be changing with Pluto in the sign of Aquarius. And probably we're going to start seeing that in 3-4 years' time. You
Yes.
know?
True.
So we do need to listen to our subconscious mind. We do need to make a decision what's right and wrong for us, rather than
Yes.
having that compulsion to control others.
Yes. And
Otherwise, we're going
very.
to get into
Mm,
crisis.
yeah. And very often, because Pluto also rules hostages, we might become. We might get the feeling like we're being kept, um, within a small surface. Even it could even actually happen, quite literally. If there are floods or some natural calamities or disasters, or in certain areas of the world, then we might be kept hostage somewhere to stay alone with ourselves, to get deep. If we resist this change, we will have to face it. It's something that we will be forced to do. We will somehow, the more we resist the change, the more we get put into the corner, so that we can really come down and settle within, so that we can see what's going on the subconscious level, and then bring it out and actually become free. That's the idea of the whole transit, indeed, to set us free.
It's interesting you say that because Pluto on 29 degree always reveals what to
Mhm.
come. right? Now,
Yeah.
if we start thinking about that in Turkey and Syria, there were a few devastating earthquakes,
Yes.
that's a sign that we might be expecting some natural disasters to come around. And Pluto does represent the loss of lives, right? So
Yes.
it could be something which is kind of, cutting the number of population overall.
Mm.
Now, Aquarius does rule population.
Population.
So definitely it could be one manifestation. And what's
Mm.
interesting about it is that, on paper, politicians signed that these buildings were earthquake proven. And
Mm-hmm.
according to studies, this should not have knocked many of the buildings down. And those were the first to get knocked down. So probably, we should be expecting some type of rebellion behavior. And what I'm thinking is that obviously how it's going to happen is that the insurance companies won't be paying as much money as the property was worth for,
Yes.
and then people are going to go on strike. So these type of indications are already in the air. Look at
Mm.
your own countries where it happens,
Yeah.
and anyway, it's not about talking. I mean, it's not necessarily talking about Turkey, just as an example, because even I think there is some natural disasters happening in New Zealand as well, if I'm not mistaken. But
Yes.
there are other parts of the world as well where it is going
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
So Pluto
Pluto.
will
Yeah.
show. Sorry, go ahead.
No, no. I just wanted to just kind of confirm what you said, that Pluto actually rules the abuse of power, and now that it's on the 29th degree of Capricorn, we can see how power was abused to collect the money and then leave buildings which are so dangerous for people, and it gets revealed, and it's on many levels, not only you know through the earthquake, but we actually managed to see this over the last since 2008 it started, so we are now more and more able to see how political structures, how countries are like pulling the strings behind the scene, because Pluto rules hidden things and it rules power. So we come to realize more and more that actually the world peace and the world as a whole is being managed, directed by just a few people that we don't even know who they are, and it's going to be more and more revealed. And I think that it will bring with time, within a few years, maybe 5, 6, 7 till 10, when we will have Pluto in mid degrees of Aquarius already in its transit, then we will have more and more information, because Aquarius also rules objective information. We will be able to see more and more objectively who stands behind the scenes, and we will probably be like pushed to riot, pushed to make a revolution, because we will no longer want to bury this, to carry this. And it's like people have like given the power to these few someones, and then they're like ready to take the power back, because that's what Pluto is about, to take the power back. And it's like Pluto in Aquarius, it's like power to humanity, power to the people. So, but it's a long transit, as I said. So it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to happen through a longer period of time, through different circumstances. But I think that that's actually the idea behind Pluto in Aquarius, to make people more conscious of what's going on indeed. And then we will have an objective choice, because Aquarius is the water bearer. He's pouring water, and he's actually looking at the emotions indeed, and he's actually like manages to stay very objective from what Aquarians feel. So yeah, it's a very strong transit for humanity indeed, for the
Someone is
collective.
curious about, on their personal experiences. You don't need to worry about Pluto being in a sign in your natal chart. Look at the house position.
Yes.
So, and first of all, what you should be looking at is obviously how Pluto in Aquarius plays out. So Pluto can show what area of life you have been violated. That's your natal chart, what it shows. You know, so maybe Pluto in the eighth house, you have been violated sexually, or somehow the power got taken away from you. So Pluto moving into the sign of Aquarius, how are you going to get the power back, right? But how are you going to rise above your psychological problems? How you are not in control of your life anymore? What does need to be cleansed throughout? So basically, let's say Pluto natally is in your eighth, moving into the 12th, try to bring the eighth and the 12th house together, right? So that's the death of for example, the previous incarnation. So getting rid of karmic ties, in a sense, that's what Pluto would want. Just one manifestation. Or where is your Pluto?
Mine
Check
is in
here.
the 12th house.
So in
And
your
now
12
it
and then
enters
moving
the fourth.
into...
Yeah.
Okay, so again, something to do with the ancestral karma there, which
Yeah.
might have been buried and needs to be brought back up, or it might needs to be buried fully and cutting ties, you know, from family problems.
Yeah, that's actually
Because
what's going
Pluto
on.
is the light as well as the darkness. So if we stay in the darkness, you know, the ego in the 12th house slowly dies. So
Yeah.
it's more important that, you know what, I break this karmic chain and then I rise above that. Often
Yes.
Pluto represents that we are ashamed of something or we are jealous of something as
Mm.
well. So our jealousy can get triggered pretty much.
Yeah.
And maybe with the 12th and 4th house combo, I'm jealous that my father is more spiritual than me. Or I'm jealous that he has got a lot more realistic approach to life than me, you know. Or it could talk about egotism as well. So my father is too egotistical and then he doesn't want to lose that part, or the other way around, right? But
Yes.
with Pluto, there are the extremes. So we always play to the extremes. It's never, it's really black and white.
Yes. And because
Things.
Pluto is the ruler of the modern ruler, indeed. I don't work with the modern rulers, but still it is my ascendant. So it's the chart ruler in a way. So it's very much related to me and like suppressing my anger as well a lot and not being able. It's kind of I am scared of my power because if I release that emotion, then everything is going to be it's going to vanish. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's like a pressure cooker, but yeah. True, so true for
We
me.
did talk about Pluto already, and we did start talk about you know, some nature of the sign of Aquarius, but let's dive into that a little bit deeper. So Aquarius is an air sign, which is an active connection seeker. Now it's a fixed sign, so it's a fixed air, which sounds a little bit funny, right? Because air, which is kind of flowing in a sense, and then somehow we try to fix that. We try to contain the air.
Mm.
It's a positive sign, meaning that it's more active. So we live that through in outer events as well, rather than just on a soul level. And obviously, Aquarius is one of the air signs. So we have got Gemini and Libra. Now, Gemini typically is curious about connections, typically with everyone, really. With Libra, we are connecting to a soulmate, and with Aquarius, we are connected to like-minded people with similar ideas, group ideas. So that Pluto really could bring, you know, that somehow a group idea is going to get completely destroyed, or a group idea which is going to be emerging, and then everyone is going to belong to that. Let's
Mm.
hope this is the death somehow of social media. I
Yeah,
cannot
or
imagine
maybe at
that.
least the people being conscious of how social media takes their nervous system out of their body. It's actually that's why I think there is such a huge peak in neurological issues with people because everything is taking their nervous system out of the body. It's like we don't. It's like it's being eradicated out of us. It's like we become puppets, you know. And when I think about Aquarius, I always imagine the opposite sign of Leo, and it's like the sign of Leo is ruled by the sun, which is a circle with a dot in the center. And to me, Aquarius is actually the circle without the dot in the center. It rules any kind of system without a center, like the nervous system, the internet, the the blood circulation, all those types of systems, and also the community where we are all fighting for one. We are, each of us is an individual, but there is no circle, no point in the circle. So we are all moving as one whole, and therefore it's masses. It's therefore we can actually achieve so much because we use the power of the masses. And that's what Aquarius is for me. And it's really because it's a fixed sign, as you mentioned, there is this focus. We have some idea and we get focused, and we just, all of us go together, and there is just no other way than for this to happen. Indeed, it's like a revolution going on. And here,
And
as
really
the slide
difficult
says,
for Pluto here because, if Pluto is the ruler of Scorpio, Aquarius is squaring that.
yes,
It's a heavy air, right? So
yes,
it cannot
quite
really
large
contain
area.
air, and Pluto is going to try to do that. From an
Mm.
archetypical point of view, Aquarius is the fool or the comrade or the reformer. Now, the fool is that someone who is following, for example, something which is not working anymore, or, believing in something that should not happen. So following social media, for example. And we've got this comrade, which is very interesting that kind of like it's a Russian principle, if we think about back in about 40 years ago, and Russia is also ruled by Aquarius. I tend to believe that Russia will rise. We will see the rebirth of Russia as a world power more and more. But what I meant by the comrade is that the group idea, something which we believe. And, if we believe in certain things, then we're going to be fighting for our belief system. And then the innovator. So the technological advancement surely is going to be there, such as space travel or replacing electricity. We have been having electricity issues with the Saturn and Uranus square, right? So
Yes.
Pluto surely will want to somehow make a new version of that.
Mm. Yeah.
Saturn Uranus did bring, so yeah, Saturn Uranus did bring us the changes in the stock market, as well as something to do with these electronic coins, basically. Pluto either will destroy that. What's interesting is that the Terminator comes to my mind with Pluto in
Yeah, the
Aquarius.
same with me.
And, I'm just wondering if these computers are going to get so intelligent in the next 20 years that basically they're going to be controlling our lives completely. Maybe not so much like in that movie, The Terminator,
Hopefully,
but
we'll see.
hopefully not, but
Uh,
something similar, right?
yeah, it's like giving up the power of humanity to machines. And this is one of the extremes that we might see indeed before we actually see how harmful this is to humanity, to the human soul. Because if we, half of us is a machine and half of us is a body, and this has a very nice purpose to make the life longer. But then what happens to reincarnation and to the soul growth? What happens to the bigger picture? It's like being fixed to see only one side of the coin, and not being able to really see the picture fully. And yeah, sorry I interrupted you.
Yeah, but absolutely right. I mean, hopefully Pluto is bringing a major change to the internet.
Yeah.
But hopefully it's a major change in a sense that, yes, as you said, people are going to see that the social media is controlling and taking over our lives.
Mm.
However, the task in Aquarius would be to make unique connections with others, not necessarily just through by chatting on an application and not even meeting face to face. However, this is where we are heading, right? So friendships
Yes.
are most likely, it could talk about the death of friendship, and that's gonna be completely kind of centralized by a bloody computer,
Yes.
unfortunately.
Yes. And we
So I
were
think
actually
questions about,
forced. Sorry, I
oh yeah, with
interrupted you
Pluto,
again.
you are kind of
Yes.
forced to do that.
Yes.
Absolutely. And, often Aquarius plays the role of the anarchists,
Mm,
right? So what happens is that we become the black sheep. We become rebellious about things, what is ahead of us. We are just thinking about ourselves. However, Aquarius is also thinking about others too. So it's not just
mm,
about what's good for me, but what's good for the collective on a humanitarian level, what's good. So we're going to have to
mm.
become this wise fool. Now, the wise fool is pretty much that I'm so ahead of my time. Maybe I discover something and then everyone is going to laugh at me, but 100 years down the line, my name is going to be cherished. That's pretty much a Pluto in Aquarius energy. Now, of course, Pluto
Mm.
comes from Capricorn. So Pluto wanted to destroy the politics, in a sense, in the sign of Capricorn. It wanted to completely change it and transform it. Maybe the voting system and so forth.
Yes.
If it didn't work out, Aquarius is still a political sign. So in the next 20 years, most likely we will, basically Pluto will want to give back the power to people. So I kind of feel like democracy is going to be a huge topic. Interesting what we saw recently in some Islamic countries, right? Where
Mm.
women are protesting against the hijab and all this type of stuff. This is exactly what we're going to be seeing on an escalated level in the sign of Aquarius, that I don't want people to control my life and tell me how to dress and all those type of stuff.
Yes, so it's kind of, as we mentioned already, giving back the power to the people, but maybe not necessarily on an individual level at first. It will be like we need, as a collective, to stand up and fight for our rights, right? So that at a later point, maybe when Pluto leaves the sign of Aquarius, we will actually see the results of what really happened and the freedom that the level of freedom that we now have. Indeed. Yeah. So.
Capricorn is also about traditions. So
Mhm.
often Pluto wants to kind of destroy the old belief systems, the old traditions, something,
Mm.
why do we have to eat turkey all the time, for example, at New Year's Eve or, Christmas or whatever it is?
Yep. Mhm.
So we can replace them with new traditions. So Pluto will try to create new traditions in the sign of Aquarius, you know.
Yes. Especially through
Um,
education, for example, through educating the younger population. I've been talking with my nephew lately. He's very keen on history, and he showed me what they're studying at school now, and it's like totally different from what we studied. And I can understand that it's because we need to become more friendly to each other, and we don't need to somehow feed negative feelings and negative attitude towards certain nations only because there was war like 500 years ago, and we tend to be stubborn. And I don't mean that we need to forget, but still we need to go on because the future is coming. We need to face the new energies, and it's globalism, it's humanity as a whole. And actually it feels like nations are going away. It's like they're no longer that strong. No nations will be that strong as they used to be in the past. It's like every nation will be merging with the next, and we becoming a whole, like the world population, not this country, that country. And there will be no such separation, I feel, between the different nationalities. We need to achieve some kind of peace within, so that it can manifest without on the outside, on a global level.
Interesting that you say that, because obviously Capricorn is about borders, and Pluto has been trying to, draw a line in a different place, basically.
Yes.
It's obviously COVID kind of divided, the situation that we can travel, we cannot travel, we need this and that. But then we have got the Ukraine-Russian war, where basically they are fighting for a piece of land. That's a sign there that we might be expecting that the borders of countries will change significantly with
Yes.
Pluto in the sign of Aquarius.
Mm.
Often it's because we kind of feel like that we have got this intellectual, it's our intellectual property. So often how it emerges is that, history, in the history, I don't know, Ukraine was mine, so why is it yours now? I want it back, type of things. So we want to put our hand on something which we believe it's ours, in a sense. And yeah, Aquarius is a sign of friendship. So it could really talk about the unification of countries for maybe just a better life, or, or in the hope that we're just going to get stronger together.
Yeah, it's like putting the focus on the brotherhood among humanity, between the people,
Brotherhood,
between the
sisterhood, surely.
between the people, the human being, and not the nation. It's like the leading point will be humanity more, and our humanistic side, rather than which nation do we belong to, kind of.
So
Yeah.
if I'm thinking about this brotherhood, sisterhood concept, obviously EU or NATO comes to my mind. So is it going to bring the end of EU or NATO type of stuff, or maybe in the EU, someone will also join who is not even in, let's say, Europe?
Yes, that was
Right?
my next thought.
So what came to my mind, for example, recently, obviously, we could see that in the Eurovision Festival, where Australia joined as well, which is great. I don't have any issue with that.
Yes, me neither.
But then maybe the name should be changing as well, because this is not Eurovision anymore.
Yes.
Right? Obviously, Australia and England have got some connections, but anyway, I want to emphasize I don't have any issue with that, but I'm just describing here that a group can become bigger by welcoming everyone, or it can completely get destroyed with Pluto moving in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
The symbol of Aquarius is a little bit interesting, because it's going to lead me to a different topic. Obviously, we're talking about the water bearer. Now, this story here is that Zeus found this very beautiful little prince of Greece. He was considered to be the most handsome ones. And then he wanted to have a little bit of a flirt with him. So he abducted him, basically, and then he made him to be his cupbearer, which means that he had to give Zeus drinks whenever he was thirsty. And what happened was that eventually, these gods were meant to be a role model, or kind of like a person who is going to help this person, the other one, to elevate even more. So the guy got kind of tired of pouring drinks to him all the time. So he decided to pour out all water, and then it caused floods and some type of natural disaster on Earth, which divided the population. But then eventually Zeus realized that, you know what, I shouldn't have been acting like that. I should have been promoting his talent and so forth. So basically, he put him in the sky as an Aquarian symbol. So this little story tells us, obviously, LGBTQ, which we spoke about already. But the most important part, in my opinion, is that the realization where I go wrong and admitting that I'm wrong about something. Now, Aquarius is a stubborn, persistent, concentrated, fixed energy. So when we are holding on to certain principles, we are not flexible with our mind, then unfortunately, it's going to cause instability everywhere.
Yes.
right? And what a
Right.
fixed sign does, that it tries to give a form and shape to air. That's not going to happen. You cannot put it
Never.
into a box. So
Mm,
always going to be that odd one out who is going to, escape from that. Yeah.
yeah, true. And also when actually that boy poured the water onto the earth, causing natural calamities and floods and stuff, then the earth became very fertile and actually it flourished. So that's actually again here the idea of death and rebirth with Pluto in Aquarius, like bringing something which on the first, which really is not that nice and not that pleasant, but then afterwards the results could be something really positive indeed.
Yeah. So the spiritual meaning of Aquarius, obviously, it's so much to do with our intellect. Now, in Scorpio, which is another fixed sign, right? We
Yeah.
had our fixed emotions. In Aquarius, we have our fixed ideas. For instance, the communism was pretty similar to that. So what happens in this sign is that we become stubborn about our principles and ideas. Pluto wants to kind of break that away, right?
Mm.
Often Aquarius believe that they do something for the society. They do something out of structure as well. Capricorn is someone who doesn't necessarily care about others, but respects them. Now, Aquarius might not respect everyone at the same level, or Aquarius says that, you know what, I kind of respect you, or everyone is equal, but I'm a little bit more equal than you, type of. So there is the
Mm.
egotism there because Leo
Yeah.
is obviously the opposing sign.
Yes.
So often here in Aquarius, it's going to show that equality is going to be basically a big question. That's the bottom line there. Who can have children? Aquarius rules something to do with artificial intelligence, but also IVF and
Yes.
uh, 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 blood donors and all these type of stuff. And then Pluto is the death. So it's kind of like trying to stop aging, Pluto in Aquarius. We're
Yes.
gonna
And
find ways to stop aging,
Pluto rules
to a
DNA.
certain extent, of course.
Yes. Pluto rules the DNA as well. So maybe some genetic modification of the DNA of each of us. Like I think it's already happening, but now with Pluto getting into Aquarius even more, and maybe some breakthroughs in that relation. But also we need to remember that Aquarius is also prone to some kind of utopias, and we don't need to go to extremes when we have a certain idea, and when something doesn't work in the best interest of the whole, then we need to put a full stop. Although with Pluto in Aquarius, I believe that we will first need to see the extremes, and then we will know actually when we are out of the boundaries of what had to be. What we initially intended is not necessarily what is going to happen.
Yeah. Or in Scorpio, the other fixed sign, which is about addictions and our trust issues.
Yes.
Now, in Aquarius, Pluto wants to break us away from addictions and our trust issues. And we have got Taurus, where obviously Uranus is going through. So we have got this major kind of cardinal cross in the fixed signs. And Taurus is talking about possessions. So Aquarius often takes away the possessions, especially which is buried. We might run out of gold. We might run out of gas. We might run out of, kind of whatever is coming from the ground, basically. So there needs to be an alternative way. And because
Mm.
Aquarius rules the sky, it is very possible that something we're going to gain from the skies, basically.
Mm. And it could also indicate actually the fear of losing something, which will be a motivator to actually advance in a certain field, because Pluto rules fear and Aquarius is very futuristic. So it might be like we're looking 200 years ahead, and actually is having this fear installed within us, we actually move on and move on and move on to the future. And this fear could be a good motivator indeed. Maybe we
Oh,
will
fear is
get
a good
really,
thing.
yes, we might be
It
motivated
can
to
be a
actually
good thing.
start conserving the planet and making steps in that direction and actually achieve. Um, it's not a must that we need to lose something so that we can value what we have. So this fear could be used for a good purpose. And yeah.
It can be a great motivator, you know. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, Mars does rule, obviously, something to do with depression as well as something to do with motivator. Now, fear can be a great motivator. We just need to be stepping on the gas pedal. You know, and the
Mm-hmm.
last fixed sign is Leo, which is really much about our fat ego. What Pluto wants to say in Aquarius that we are not gods. We are all humans. We are all going to the same toilet and then do the same business.
Yes.
As my grandma used to say, you are no difference to me. You know, we have the same shit. And that's so true. So it wants to break down something to do with the top 10%, you know, of the population, the equality in regards to money and finances. So what I'm kind of imagining here is that the middle class is going to kind of disappear.
Yes. There will
So
be a
we're going to have the
huge,
very poor and the very
yes.
rich, and the middle class somehow eventually, you know, gonna go one way. But also
Yes.
that egotistical behavior, what that Leo element brings in, you know, where, you know, I have to be looking out for my own needs.
Mm,
Pluto in Aquarius says, well, you're gonna have to learn to share, or I'm gonna take that
mm,
away from you. So the
yes.
rich can fall and then they can become very poor.
Mm. There will be some redistribution of wealth, definitely, and some of it hopefully will come back to the people here. So
You want to
yeah.
speak about the scripts of Aquarius?
Maybe you start and I can fill in.
Well, one of the major um, scripts, which is a kind of like a psychological term for psychological inhibitions, if you like it, the exit plan. So what Aquarius tends to be doing is that they get into something new, but as soon as they are in that new environment, they are looking for an exit door as well.
Oh yeah.
Just to know that in case something doesn't work out, I have got a way to get out as well.
Mm.
Now, I do have got this exit plan always with the relationship department. It's kind of like a little
So
bit of
am
a
I.
backup plan, you
Yeah.
know, like, you know, if she hits the fan, let's find another way to get out.
Yeah, that
Now, either Pluto wants to strip away the exit plan and you get stuck somewhere, or Pluto says, don't even go in there. What's the point in going into there?
mm.
Because you're going to run away anyway. So it completely depends on us. Then we also say that Aquarius is an emotionally detached sign. Now, it definitely is an emotional sign. They have actually loads. It's a water bearer, right? So pouring water from one cup to another. We're just playing with the emotions. You
Mm.
know, and often Aquarius, how they transform their emotions is through a bigger humanitarian stuff, such as Greenpeace or environment. You can see an Aquarius cry when an animal is on the street. They're never going to cry over a relationship, though. Okay,
Yeah,
that person got no problem. See you later. Next. But
and
when animals or social matters are happening, actually, Aquarius hearts melt significantly.
yeah, it's like the general who doesn't necessarily connects emotionally to each soldier, but the general looks at the big picture and they will do anything possible to keep the whole. And sometimes they just realize, I think, that sometimes we need to sacrifice 1, 2, 3 points within a certain idea, but we need to keep the whole going to where we need it to go. So that's how I see this emotionally detached thing going on with Aquarius. And I was laughing a lot about the exit plan because I have Uranus on my Scorpio ascendant, and it's like I always have the exit plan. And I although these are two fixed signs, I could be very slimy at times. And yeah, that's the way things are.
The
And
Uranus and the rising sign is pretty much about liberating from the toxic
oh
emotions, and
yeah,
replacing them. And Pluto will remind you of that in the sign of Aquarius, big time.
it does all the time.
It's kind of
Okay.
like a little bit of a mutual reception of what is going on there.
Yeah.
The other one
Anyway.
is that, in regards to this emotionally detached mechanism, is that in a relationship world, how it plays out for Aquarius is that imagine you have got a partner, and the partner gives up their home environment to be with you. For Aquarius, it becomes such a big burden
Mm,
that immediately they want to walk away from it, because why on earth would you make such a sacrifice only for one person?
yeah,
Obviously,
no,
this is something they do that unconsciously. So,
and also,
and then
is it expected of me to do that the same for you because I'm not ready to
exactly,
do
and then am
that?
I expected to do something similar?
Yeah.
And then Aquarius doesn't necessarily destroy relationships, but what it does is that eventually they're gonna create a situation where their partner leaves rather
Mm,
than they have to make the decision, and then they can put their hands up. It wasn't my fault. I'm
yeah.
innocent. Now, with the Pluto in Aquarius, often we put our hands up and we play the role of the victim. So it wants you to see how you created that situation as well. And then we've got the bandit script as well, which is
Mm,
about causing chaos all the time so that something will play out the way you want it to be playing out. So you play a role till it happens. Obviously, that comes from the Leo element because we have got some egotistical desires there.
yes.
Um, yeah. So another thing which I saw here, because Aquarius can indicate such things like the parents become the friend for the child, and also it could indicate teacher-student relationships. And I saw this video and I was absolutely shocked. I saw this video recently where a 35-year-old teacher, a woman, is talking about why she thinks it's right to go out with a 14-year-old student,
Mm,
14-year-old boy. And then
yeah.
she is going out with 14-year-old boys.
Aquarius actually rules the gap, the generation gap. So, yeah.
Generation gap, exactly. So I was like, wow. And that happened just recently when Pluto is on 29 degrees. So I was like, are we expecting this type of behavior, in the near future? Because I don't like it. Like, come on. So let's go on to the fun part, even though we've mentioned most of it, what's written on the side, but we're going to just summarize that. So Pluto
Hmm.
in Aquarius, March 24th, 2023, only for a few months. And then it's going to go back into the sign of Capricorn. It has got some unfinished business in the Capricorn. It hasn't
Yeah.
broken the barriers down yet. It hasn't kind of made the political matters to go away. It's interesting that Pluto went into Aquarius straight away. We had an economic crisis. Now Pluto is going to be back and forth till 2024 September, and economists are already expecting economic crisis. Astrologically speaking, I think it's more going to be something 25, 26, but we definitely going to see some struggle in the economic world. I think especially food industry related matters. Now, the
Yes.
previous cycles, I mentioned the couple there, February 12, 1532 to 1553. And interesting, that was the birth of Queen Elizabeth I, who got replaced by King Harry VIII.
Mm.
And I also find it interesting that the Queen died obviously recently as well, even though Pluto wasn't on 29 degrees. I think it was only on 27. But it is on the borderline, right? So
Yes.
does it mean that some monarchy is gonna disappear with Pluto in Aquarius in the next 20 years? And I'm sure actually that the British Empire is gonna change somehow. And I'm guessing the power will be given back to people. That's one of the
Yeah.
predictions I would like to make here. Is it gonna
It,
mean that King Charles maybe is not gonna be the king anymore? That's a very much of a possibility. By the way, either he's gonna get replaced in the next 1.5 years, or he's just gonna give up on his right. One of those two. Also, we had the
yeah.
birth of Church of England. Now, I don't like talking about religions, but the religions are either merging or kind of disappearing with this Pluto in Aquarius.
Yeah.
One kind of church ideal, right? So one belief system type
Yeah.
of thing, what it
Maybe
would talk
yeah,
about.
we come to move to the universal truth behind all religions. We come to realize how each and every religion actually talks about one and the same thing, about peace, and then it's about finding peace between different religions and like having this peace on the global level. Again, bringing back the power to humanity, being free from, so everybody free to believe whatever God they believe in, but still realizing we're all one and not fighting against each other, but actually following the rules of this religion, if I may say so. But what the religion stipulates and says we should be doing is be in peace. So yeah.
Unfortunately, it could lead to religious wars as well. Then we
Yeah.
had Copernicus realize that the sun and the earth are not the center of universe.
Oh yeah.
So obviously, we're going to have some major astronomical and astrological discoveries. It's going to
Yes.
change astrology, most likely very significantly. And we're just going to have to learn to go with the flow,
Yeah.
meaning that we're going to have to embrace that new knowledge.
True.
Last cycle was between 1778 to 1798. The American Constitution was written and basically democracy was born.
Mm-hmm.
Does
Yeah.
that bring the end of democracy, or is it going to be rewritten, or the states are going to be splitting and they have going to have their own little constitutions, and rules, which is, I think it's already somehow happening anyway. They have got different rules over different stuff. Then we
Yeah.
had William Wilberforce. He had a campaign against slavery, and the first country was Denmark, who said, okay, no more slavery.
Mm.
This is an interesting thing, slavery, because at the end of the day, we are all
All
slaves.
slaves. Yes, that was my
Yeah,
thought immediately. We are slaves to our employers. We are slaves to the certain rules of society. We are slaves to follow certain rules in order to be a part of a group, and we are slaves to ourselves as well. Yeah.
absolutely. And Aquarius does rule self-employment.
Mm-hmm.
So, alongside with the Leo axis, of course. So, this could really talk about, for example, little tribes, little businesses coming together, forming an empire, trying to knock down, I don't know, Google or whatever it is, because we are getting tired of, them making money, but we are unable to do so.
Mm.
So, there could be attempts around that. Then we had the Foundation of Church Mission Society, Society of Prevention Animal Cruelty. I think that's going to be a big topic anyway. Birth
Yes.
of labor movement in US. It could bring up some different new parties, which becomes a power, for example. Vindication of the rights of women. Now, I've been saying this for a while, but some female power is rising.
Mm.
There will be some female coming in to be a prime minister in one of these bigger world leaders, basically. We had industrial revolution. We discovered the steam power. Surely we're going to have some new source of power because probably the electricity prices will go up even more. The gas is an issue. We do know that. So all those needs to be replaced with something else. Uranus was discovered. So probably we're going to discover loads of new planets. We had the
Yeah.
first balloon. We had the first theories of the black holes. Maybe the black hole astrology is going to become a major or a lot
Yeah.
bigger. And then we had a vaccine discovered against chickenpox.
Yes, and also the battery was invented actually, was
Who was
discovered
invented?
during the battery.
Oh, the battery.
Batteries,
Yeah.
yes, and the bicycle as well. So these are huge inventions. Even if they look small, they actually brought to so huge changes if we think about them. So just giving
Interesting you
an
say
yeah,
bicycle because that could really obviously an environmental choice, to save the earth. So maybe actually you are right. Bicycles are gonna become a lot
yeah,
more
bicycles, and also, for example, using wind for turbines, which are actually rotating the same way, and using the water wheel to generate power, because Pluto is power, and yeah, Aquarius is all related to that. So yeah,
And another cycle, 1286, 1308. Now, why I put that down was because we also had the Saturn-Jupiter air cycle within that period
mm.
too, just like now. So that was the expansion of cultural trades, block printing, spectacles were invented. The Houses of Commons were founded in England. The taxation started. Let's hope this is the end of taxes, period. I cannot imagine that, but
Or
let's
maybe
hope
they become more electronic.
maybe
Or
more
maybe,
electronic.
yeah, maybe we pay taxes with goods and not with real money. It's kind of being a part of a community. Maybe we become more like the same tax for everyone, like paying some kind of a subscription fee to belong to a certain country, or I don't know. I'm trying to think out of the box, but yeah, something like this. More
And
like
obviously,
equal
this
rights for
era was
everyone.
really much about the education.
Yes.
So the first universities came around and so forth. So most likely the change of education is on the horizon.
And
Yeah.
it's very much needed indeed.
Also, the 1532, 1553 period, Neptune was also in the sign of Aries, and that's we're gonna
Mm,
experience very shortly. And the first African slaves were brought into the New World. Of course, other stuff happened as well. I just picked one of those because, as you said, we are all slaves
mm,
in our lives to a certain extent. So, in what ways are you a slave, a hostage of
mm,
a situation? And that's going to be a huge question in the next 20 years. So we did
true.
speak about what happened during Pluto transit in Capricorn. We had big economic crises. Most likely Pluto changing sign will try to fix the current economic situation, just like they did when Pluto moved into in Capricorn as
In
well. They
Capricorn.
fixed the housing problems. So we're gonna see that they're gonna try to fix it, and most likely they will succeed eventually, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
It will take some
Uh,
time. And maybe this Pluto going back to Capricorn to just sweep what's beneath the carpet and make things more clear and more obvious. And then moving finally back into Aquarius, then yeah, it just will take a year or two to really
a
find
year or two,
a
and
way
most
out.
likely the critical point is going to be sometimes 24 in the summer because
Mm,
Pluto is
yeah,
spending a few months only on the anaretic degree.
yes.
So here we collected some possible meanings and manifestations of Pluto in Aquarius. However, we did speak about most of them. So people want to take control of their own life. digital currency to emerge within 5 years. The 5 year period is because Jupiter and Pluto will be trining each other in 5 years' time, while Pluto and Uranus will also be trining as well. And it's all going to be happening in air signs too. So we're going to see a grand trine there. And I think they're going to take opportunity of that. Technology to be used, we have never ever seen before. So don't think iPhone 14 is the biggest, greatest stuff ever. It's just going to be 10 times something better.
Flying cars and stuff.
Flying
cars and yeah, we might use air much more than we do now, indeed.
Exactly. I can imagine the local airplanes to be more popular. Obviously, traffic is a big issue. I can imagine that the air industry is just going to be a lot faster. Now it takes, I don't know, 10 hours to get to Thailand. Probably it's going to wrap up in 3 hours, and so forth, because the demand is going to grow.
Yeah, and maybe being able to use this atomic energy of Pluto through much more alternative ways, and even use it as fuel for cars and for everyday use in a way that is acceptable and not that dangerous to people. And that will also allow us to preserve the planet as well, because it will not be polluting, and it will actually provide a huge resource of power and energy from something that we can provide in a lab. Or we will become more independent of maybe of Earth resources in that sense, and become much more preserving of Earth's resources, and help it and support it to rejuvenate, because it needs it so much these days. So
definitely there will be attempts to create a better society system. Kind of like realizing that we should not be relying on something bigger than us anymore. And so we are expecting some social media changes, even if it's not the death of social media, but maybe a social media regulation overall. Interesting. Pluto is on 29-degree. And Twitter and Facebook decided to have these monthly fees, $14.99, I think, or something like that. I think people will not like it. It's been free for what, 16 years, and then all of a sudden we want to charge for it, or 20 years. All of a sudden we want to charge for it. So people might decide, okay, I don't need social media anymore.
Oh, that will be a great opportunity to detox.
Yeah. Maybe democracy will be born in more countries. People will be fighting for their independency, countries that might want to become their own. So we might step out of EU or all those type of things. The death of communities. So we spoke about EU, NATO, and these type of stuff. New communities to arise. Wealth in the power of community and knowledge, realizing that knowledge is our greatest asset. Now, I do believe that we need transformation in that industry, because it's, you see these TikTok videos. I don't know whether they are made up or not, but you ask a child which number is bigger, not even a child, a teenager, which number is bigger, 5.2 or 5.3, and then the automatic answer is 5.2, or what's the capital city of USA? And then the answer is, well, it's USA. So some basic knowledge, but then maybe, that's where I go wrong. And why do I assume that knowing the capital city of USA is a fundamental knowledge, what we all need to be aware? Maybe that's what I need to move away from,
It's a negative, maybe a negative effect on the developing child brain, that having access to any kind of information you can imagine through Google and through the internet doesn't, it kind of takes away your motivation to study whatever, because you actually, why do I need to know that? I just type into Google and it comes up, and if I need it, I will just learn it. And in that sense, I could focus into doing things that I really enjoy, and things that are really my talent. but then it's again this gray zone, because we need to have some basis, though, some basic knowledge in order to be able to develop something. That's what we probably will come to realize more and more, and children as well, and the education system might change in that sense. And yeah, let's see. I'm looking forward to this a lot.
Funny story. One of my really great friends, probably my oldest friend, she has got a 17-year-old son, and he's a little genius when it comes to computers. And he's actually writing me an astrological software at the moment, which
Oh.
might be ready today or tomorrow. It's going to be a basic version on my website, but it's going to show essential dignity tables, some bits and bobs you cannot get anywhere online, and it might be useful for everyone. And then he's telling me the other day, I need to go now because I'm going to have an exam. And I was like, okay, then go and study. Oh, no, I'm not going to study. I'm writing a program so that the program does the exam for me. And the teacher never sees that anyway because it's online. I was like, pardon? Oh, I've done it before. That's how I write my exams. I don't like that subject, so I'm not going to study about it. So he only
Mm,
studies about things what he is interested in. And he
mm,
writes a program to make his homeworks because it's online education nowadays, many places.
yeah.
And I'm like, oh, wow, okay. By the way, he's an exceptional student, but
Yeah, but it
that's
also
Pluto
touches
in
on the,
Aquarius.
yeah, that touches on the subject of being fixed into, and a little bit stubborn, and a little bit like to laser focused into the things that are of your interest. And I don't know what's right and what's wrong, to tell you the truth. Is it necessary to know everything just for the sake of knowing it? If you don't need it, and why? Then why worry at all? And it's my daughter, she's 11, even she is telling me, Mom, why do I have to study this and that and that? I don't need it. I don't use it in my everyday life. Where am I going to use it? Tell me. I don't need it. I want to sing. I want to draw, because that's what she's very artistic, and that's what she wants to do. She wants to learn to dance, and she doesn't have a chance to do so because she has to fill in her head with tons of information that she's actually she doesn't have a problem to find it easily. So yeah, it's going to change, definitely, and this change in the educational system might come from that. And children nowadays are so much more ahead of time. They kind of know from very small age what they want and what they want to pursue, and yeah, it's somehow they are in touch with their talents much more than we used to be. So things will have to change. Yeah.
Yeah. I also believe there is going to be further discoveries around the brain and the mind. So
Yes,
neurology is going to be, I think, a big
absolutely.
one. The virtual reality, probably it's coming. I also put down the rise or the death of astrology, it's going to transform significantly. There are going to be more toxic people, and that's why we need more mental practitioners, most likely. The manipulation of people is a negative one, definitely. So we spoke about that you need to be getting your own power back. Further discoveries around the sky, aliens to be more present in our lives, maybe their existence is going to get revealed or there is going to be a lot more talk about it. Secrets about COVID to be revealed, or unfortunately, the emerge of other pandemics, which is should be
Or
written by.
the consequences of all that COVID is doing to the nervous system, for example, and how actually COVID, because it was a very new disease and it wasn't that clear how COVID, what's the mechanism of the disease. So, and how all the medicines and the treatments, how they affect the body, maybe it will become more and more visible now, the long-term effects of something. So yeah.
Uh, the
Hmm.
cost of living crisis probably is going to be prominent. Building regulations to change in the next few years. The rise and fall of empires, kingdoms, and so forth. The birth of geniuses. So we're going to see some very great inventors coming around. probably the next 2 years, a very important politician will pass away. Air power. Obviously, Saturn Jupiter brought us a little bit of an air-driven pandemic as well, which anyway, air pollution, Pluto is toxic. So, maybe we're going to have to wear masks, these type of stuff. Self-driving car, robots to spread a lot more, issues with technology. That's why I put there the Terminator as a question mark. Relationship changes overall in the world, whether we should accept this relationship, we should not accept that relationship. The civil rights of people might be questioned, and the fake food industry to grow or eventually to die off. Then we have got the trust and wastage, which we talk about, the trade unions, probably the negative workforces, how does that affect the mind and so forth. Maybe they're going to cut back on the number of days we should be working. It might be just a 4-day regulation or a 6-hour regulation a day and so forth. Surveillance system, facial recognition is going to be a lot more bigger, surely. Gender identity issues and fertility matters, rules around IVF, abortion, adaptation, who can adopt, who can have an abortion, how many kids you can have, these type of regulations, I think, on the horizon, and we can see that already. Women to be rioting about their discrimination, equal payment, equality, liberty, that type of stuff. Eventually, Pluto should destroy the social media and it should be replaced with something else. Transportation should be changing significantly. Hopefully, we discover teleportation and I don't need to sit on the airplane for 10 hours. I just blink and, I'm somewhere else.
Your dream.
Mind control, herd mentality could be a big one. We shouldn't be throwing this away. We need this and that. Some big tech companies might go busted. Microchip technology to be a lot more prominent, trying to stop aging, alternative healing, decentralized currencies, maybe just the one currency principle, or one currency per, areas and so forth. DNA modification, we spoke about that too. So we're getting to the end of it, but lastly, what I just wanted to touch base on is that it's interesting that Pluto moves into the sign of Aquarius and its dispositor is coming to Pisces.
Yes.
At the same time. So how do you see that? Obviously, Saturn is the dispositor in Pisces.
Well, obviously it's going to be much related to humanity as well, because Pisces is a collective sign again, and it's related to health, specifically to the immune system. So I see like a lot of issues related to the immune system, to health, to how we take care of ourselves and how we are all connected indeed. Again, will be the topic. And also something else that is very visible is that Pluto is entering the sign of Aquarius on the new moon, almost one day after the new moon in Aries, which is actually the beginning of the astrological new year. So again, and also at the 0 degree, the last time it will enter, when it goes back retrograde and then goes back to Aquarius, it will be conjuncting the Sun in Aquarius at 0 degree, which is so much highlighting this Saturn-Jupiter conjunction that we had, and the Aquarian age, the whole Aquarian age once again, and the topic of Aquarius. Like, it's not just this transit of Pluto going through Aquarius for 20 years, but it's something much bigger. Indeed, it's going to have a much bigger impact. So whatever is to come in the next 20 years is going to stay for ages, so to say. And it's going to be a huge basis for the whole of humanity. Also Saturn in Pisces, because Pisces also rules religion, so there could be this what we already discussed, but the topic will be even more highlighted, and with Neptune there as well. Whatever illusions there were in terms of religion or whatever differences, there might be some crisis, but then there might be some seeing through the link between all of us and between all religions, and seeing the universal truth behind. And yeah, that's how I see it, indeed.
I agree. And maybe that Saturn, we talked about the air pollution and all those type of things. And actually that
Yeah.
Saturn might narrow it down just to water related
Yes, indeed.
pollutions, running out of water and so forth. Two other things which I wanted to mention here is that this positor is going to be conjunct in Proserpina and Shiva. Now, Proserpina, it's very interesting because I did talk about that mythology before, the daughter of Ceres and Pluto, and the forever fight for the attention of
Persephone
Proserpina.
is the other name.
Yeah, Persephone,
Yes,
yeah, in the
Persephone.
Greek way.
Yeah.
She was Pluto's wife. And when
Mm,
Proserpina was her mother, the earth produced more wheat and corn. And when she was with Pluto, there was hunger on earth. So this economic crisis in regards to food and the prices of food is a huge topic. Proserpina somehow rules something to do with the power which gets taken away from us, but at the same time, the hunger to gain that power back. It shows that somehow your life is being taken over by others. It could talk about a controlling mom, for example, then a controlling husband, and so forth. So it's something to do with where we repeat the same mistakes all over again.
mm,
Often when we have got a very prominent Proserpina, I do have it in conjunction to my rising sign. It does talk about that a mom who is dominating your life somehow, whether it's direct or in an indirect way, but you do have got a very prominent one. Also, she is about agriculture, abduction,
mm.
abuse. So it could really talk about children abuse and stuff like that, actually, with Pluto on 0 degree of Aquarius opposing Leo. So something to do with children, rape, as also Proserpina. So the sex industry might be changing significantly in the near future.
Mm.
And also, she was the one who had the ability to cross between underworld and the earth. So the boundaries are changing significantly. And then the
Yes.
other one is Shiva, who was the Slavic goddess of fertility. Typically, Poland, Slovakia, Czech Republic, Slovenia, and Germany are ruled by Shiva. And fertility, it all says it. So most likely fertility matters, which are getting highlighted with this Pluto, but also animals and stomach-related diseases. So fighting against obesity, I think, is also a Pluto in Aquarius, Saturn in Pisces topic, which is going to be coming up kind of significantly. And by the way, she was also someone who connected the souls of the loved ones. So it's a karma indicator in our chart as well. So those are the two major asteroids. We're gonna have an Aries stellium.
Yes.
And I would like to point out that Saturn-Neptune conjunction is gonna happen on the
In Aries.
sun of the Pluto in Aries.
Mm-hmm.
So this Aries is the sign of wars, you know, it's the sign
Yeah.
of wars. Jupiter is there too, and then Neptune is gonna be there, and then Saturn is gonna be there, for a while. So that war zone from 2023 till 2028 is a biggie
Yeah.
one.
Not to
Most
mention
likely,
that the nodes are also going into, sorry to interrupt you, but into Aries,
that's
and all the eclipses will take place there. So
that's
again,
right.
even more highlighted, even more karmic. So whatever is meant to be, it was meant to be long ago. So it's going to happen now and to manifest. Yeah.
That's right. And Aries, which is the singular point of view, Aquarius is the collective point of view. Aries often is associated with heroism and activism. So we're gonna see these. I mean, I really feel like it's demonstration and riot what we're gonna see in the next 5 years overall.
Yeah. It can become bloody, but it will be for a good cause. And in the end of the day, it will be to bring us more freedom as humanity and for us to become more conscious about what was manipulating us and how we actually remain slaves of ourselves, of our beliefs. Because Saturn in Pisces is also related to how we put boundaries onto our soul, what actually puts us in the position of a victim. It could be a personal belief, a limiting belief that we have, and now we will become more open to see. And also in the chart of Pluto entering Aquarius, Mars is out of bounds, so we will be able to see behind this curtain, so to say. So
Sorry, what
behind
was
this,
out of bounds? I didn't hear
I think
that.
Mars is out of bounds, and
Oh yeah,
also
Mars
it,
is out of bounds. Yes,
yeah,
you're
and
right.
also in the second chart, when Pluto actually enters Aquarius to stay there for 20 years next year, Mars and the Moon will be out of bounds, and Mars will be exalted in Capricorn. And it's really even more to say now it's time for adjustment because we will be able to see behind this glass, to see a little bit beyond it and actually consider, because Mars is in Gemini, think about it logically to see how our actions could actually have, what consequences they will have. And then with the second ingress of Pluto in Aquarius next year, when Mars will be in Capricorn, we can set the goal and start acting and to push through to really gain the power back. And now it's really a time of this year until the next, it's a time of reconsidering and still adjusting, pivoting some goals, ideas, and yeah, and just seeing how the scene will change so that we can act upon the purpose.
Well, guys, we got to the end of the presentation for today. I hope it is useful. And then if you are curious about how this might be playing out in your own chart, Pluto and Saturn, then I kind of recommend booking a 45 minutes reading with Tsveti, and she's going to go into deep, but also on a personal level, you can just compare basically the synastry between the two ingression charts with your
Yeah,
own chart, and that might reveal you loads of significant key moments, you
yes,
know.
indeed.
So thank you, Tsveti, for
Thank
this
you,
one.
Victor. It's always such a great pleasure to be discussing with you. It feels great. Thank you so much, and also for the presentation and all the work that you put into this. Yeah, you're great, but you know it.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Take care. Have a blessed one. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.